Hello, hello. Can you all hear me? All right, perfect. Hey everyone, my name is Ed and I help lead growth and marketing at Pyth Network. You may have heard of Pyth before, but our job is to send prices on chain so that you have a better DeFi experience. The first slide of our deck kind of gives away the joke. DeFi sucks right now. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. DeFi sucks because when it comes to the things that matter, price, security, and speed, you have many better options in the Web 2 world versus the Web 3 world, right? The comparison points would be something like a Charles Schwab or even the NASDAQ. You want to trade equities here in Taiwan or here in America, you have many choices where, in terms of cost, commissions could be down to $0, basically free. Speed is virtually instant because of centralized services. And then in terms of security, these are big household names. So if anything bad happens, you could take legal action and you could hold them accountable. The comparison point then is DeFi as it is today in 2024. Well, in terms of cost, there's no sustainable way of getting $0 commissions. So you're paying a lot in both gas fees and protocol fees. Second, in terms of speed, the fastest block times nowadays are around 1 to 2 seconds. So round trip times are unbearable in comparison to the centralized world. And then in terms of security, we have the DeFi branding, but it's not very decentralized. And you hear about rugs all the time. So it's not the most secure option. Our job at Pyth Network is to make things suck less and to help improve everything in terms of cost, speed, and security. We do this by a number of ways, both price data, but also a few other infrastructural improvements. And that's going to be the core of today's talk. So when we look at the synthetics of the world, or Drift, or Jupiter, or anything else that might be using an Oracle, or just in DeFi in general, we have a lot of room for improvement. And we really want to focus on the difference between DeFi performance now and TradFi performance, which is the goal, or at least the first goal. So I want to make my point using an analogy that some of you are hopefully old enough to understand. Back in the day, there was a thing called Amazon in the early 90s, where if you wanted to do Christmas shopping, for example, you had two choices back in those days. You could use the internet for the first time and try out this new e-commerce website called Amazon to buy gifts for your family, or you can use the Sears catalog. And the Sears catalog is going to be our analogy today for the NASDAQs or the Charles Schwabs or the Robinhoods of the world, right? The incumbent versus the new technology. So what's the comparison? It was a hard battle in those early days. Like, the internet in those early days was not an amazing experience. The Sears catalog was basically 10 images that you could load instantly just by opening a page. And it's been battle tested. It's been around for more than 100 years by that point. So it's very hard to beat literally this paper booklet. You go on the internet, you go on Amazon in those early days, and you want to load 10 images, that was like 2 minutes given the speeds of AOL in those early days. Not only that, but all the benefits that came with Amazon, like the fact that inventory updated real time, or that you didn't have to make a phone call to anyone to get the order delivered to your house. Sure, you had those benefits, but any of your friends who would look at that compared to the Sears catalog, they would just say, well, the Sears catalog is faster. Why would I bother using Amazon? And that's kind of where DeFi is today. And the crux of the issue is something like DeFi might come along and say, well, we have better whatever. And the whatever in our case is trust. We have better embedded trust assumptions, and we can provide a better financial future. That might be true on paper, but if the experience sucks, no one's going to bother adopting. Not until the technology behind the current technology gets better. So the current tech behind DeFi has to get better, and that's what Amazon did too. Amazon only picked up when the internet got better. So when people moved to broadband and then to 5G, now we take e-commerce for granted. So if you're on Momo or Amazon or anything else, you can load more than 10 images in a single second. You can load videos and a lot of advertisement or promotion and get your orders done within just a few seconds. But that was decades upon decades of improving the core infrastructure behind these services we take for granted. So you look at the main value prop of DeFi. Before the internet, if you wanted to do trades with people, it was basically reputational trust. But you can't scale that, right? There's only so many people in the world that you can try and put your trust in. Then comes the internet with things like eBay, where you can make exchanges to people around the world based on whatever it is you want. But again, the trust issue is not solved. So you have a lot of escrow scams, a lot of people running away, selling you a box of rocks when you thought you'd get a MacBook. Blockchain can solve this, right? Because the trust assumptions are baked into the smart contract. But until we get a better experience overall, no one's actually going to adopt the new solution. So our journey is going to be one where DeFi is in the early stage, and we have to bring it to be able to beat the Charles Schwabs of the world. Can we beat, for example, 300 millisecond latencies and $0 commissions or payment for order flow? Well, let's find out. In the early days, 2017 or so, DeFi comes around, and it's all the early versions of smart contracts. So you had what, 10 to 15 second block times on Ethereum, and settlement was just it was quite slow. And a lot of the early primitives in DeFi in those early days were some of the lending pools or other experimental things you saw in the early days. It was more built by people who wanted to challenge the way the internet or financial system worked, but they weren't necessarily aiming to take down Charles Schwab in those early days, right? It wouldn't be until faster, more performant chains like Solana come around that people began noticing that we could really start building financial services that feel a bit more like home. So with Solana, you have 400 millisecond block times, first of its kind. But beyond Solana, nowadays, if you want to build a new L2, EVM or otherwise, or an alternative L1, the standard to beat is the 1 to 2 second block times. So we're getting faster, whether it's through hybrid architectures or through re-engineering the way the L1 works. So we're getting there, and the Oracle block times are getting there too. With faster block times means faster oracles. We're not updating prices once every 10 minutes or 30 minutes. We're updating the price to near real time. So we're getting perpetual futures, we're getting on-chain derivatives, we're getting very sophisticated products that feel pretty smooth, almost as smooth as what you're used to with the other incumbents. So that's what Pyth is focusing on: speed, trust, and cost. And we do that through a number of ways. So you probably know Pyth for the price oracle, right? You're using something like synthetics or syn futures, and you're trying to make trades on meme coins on your favorite perps DEX. How does that work in the back end? Well, all the funding rates and the liquidations are done using real-time price data. So you get swaps, or you get trades, or you get liquidated, unfortunately, based on prices that are accurate. Pyth does this by getting prices from trusted first-party sources. We go out to the exchanges, market makers, and trading firms of the world, the Jane Streets, the Susquehannas, but also the OKXs, the Binances, the KuCoins, and the Gates of the world. And we get the price data from them because they actively participate in price discovery. They really know what the prices of these different assets are. And we get them to update the price on the PythNet application chain every 400 millisecond. Basically, Pyth runs on a fork of Solana, and we use this in order to get the magic of Solana, but also have our own environment so that we can update the prices as fast as you need them. Those prices are then sent cross-chain from PythNet to more than 80 blockchains, including Solana, but also Base, also Arbitrum, also Optimism, and many more, EVM, Cosmos, even the Bitcoin ecosystem. Wherever you want to trade or wherever you want to do DeFi, Pyth Network is going to be there to make sure you get the better experience, both cost-wise and security-wise, as well as obviously in terms of speed. The cool thing about Pyth too is that you don't need to listen to me talk about it. You can go to our documentation and integrate this stuff permissionlessly. You don't need to talk to a sales team. You don't need to sign any contracts. You don't need to build an account with us. Just go to the docs, download the code. It's 10 lines of code or a bit more. It's 3 minutes to integrate. Very easy. True ethos of DeFi right there. But we also do more than price feeds. If you're building things like NFTs or gaming or other creative enterprises, sometimes you need something like VRF. You need random numbers. Now, the original problem with the blockchain is it's a deterministic system. So how can you bring randomness to a deterministic system in a way that the outcome is truly unpredictable? Well, there's a number of ways you can do it. But with Pyth, we have a way called the commit reveal scheme behind our entropy product. So with entropy, it's a lightweight, responsive way to get a random number such that you provide a hash, and then a counterparty also provides a hash. You hash them together, and then the end result basically is that source of randomness. So whether you're on Blast or Base or a few other blockchains, you can have your game or your NFT mint or whatever it is you want, pure mutual markets, prediction markets, etc. You can have that based on a reliable, responsive source of randomness that's cheap, insecure, and gets you to where you need to be. Also permissionless. Lastly, this one's a bit more technical, but I'm happy to answer any questions afterwards. This is Express Relay, or a priority auction. You may have heard of something called MEV, or maximum extractable value. The TLDR is, whenever you go out there and you make a transaction on the blockchain, you're probably getting ripped off because there's a whole underground market of people who are trying to bribe each other, or rather bribe the miners and validators so that they can reorder the transactions the way they want to without you knowing it. So you don't necessarily get the best price whenever you make, for example, a swap or get liquidated. Is there a way around this? With Pyth Network, there is, and it's called Express Relay. It's an auction where your favorite DeFi protocols can get direct access to searchers, or basically other parties, like market makers, who are willing to help you with that swap or help you with that liquidation, so that you get the true price execution. You don't have validators or miners trying to get in on the action and who require bribes in order for you to get filled. So some of you on Solana may have heard of a thing called Camino. Camino is a lending protocol, but they also released something called Camino Swap. So if you want to go on Solana and make a big limit order for like 1,000 SOL, buy or sell, you can do that. You can get better price execution than even a centralized exchange. I'm not joking. Go to Camino Swap, and you can do that because in the back end is Express Relay, connecting all your limit orders to some of the top searchers in the world, like the Flow traders, the Flow desks, the Oroses, top tier searchers who are willing to give you a better price for whatever it is you want to do. So that was a crash course with some of the products of the Pyth network. We're proud to say that more than half of DeFi protocols out there in the derivatives world and beyond use Pyth data. And depending on who you ask, this number might be even bigger. This is just the DeFi Llama numbers, but more than 400 applications trust in and rely on Pyth data. The name of the game is wherever you guys choose to trade, or wherever you guys want to build, whatever it is, we hope that we can provide the infrastructure so that you can build something that feels just like TradFi or even better. We're also proud to say that the amount of volumes facilitated by the Pyth Oracle is getting to points that is comparable to those of this CeFi world. So to date, Pyth Network has secured more than $1 trillion in volume on chain, which is absolutely amazing. And it brings us close to the numbers of the CeFi world, meaning that DeFi and centralized exchanges, there's not going to be much of a gap anymore within hopefully half a year or even less time. We're trying to close that gap, one protocol at a time. So the takeaway is, if you're building DeFi or using DeFi, we hope that experience won't suck, and in fact will be better than any other alternative out there. That's our mission at Pyth, and thank you for listening.